This recording has been brought to you by EasyQuran.com. That's the letter E, the letter Z, Quran.com. The following audio is from the book Islam and Modern Age, published on March 1978 by the Professor of Philosophy K.S. Ramakrishna Rao, A Non-Muslim's Approach to Islam.
Islam, a complete way of life. It is the same practical teachings of the Quran that gave birth to the scientific spirit that has also sanctified the daily labors and the mundane affairs of worldly life. The Quran says that God has created man to worship him, but the word worship is not confined to prayer alone, but every act that is done with the purpose of winning the approval of God and is for the benefit of humanity comes under its purview. Islam sanctifies life and all its pursuits, provided they are performed with honesty, justice, and pure intents. The Quran says if you eat clean things and thank God for it, it is an act of worship. It is a saying of the Prophet of Islam that a morsel of food that one places in the mouth of any other is an act of virtue to be rewarded by God. On one instance, the Prophet says to a group of listeners, "He who is satisfying the desire of his heart will be rewarded by God provided the methods adopted are permissible." And so a person was listening to him and exclaimed, "O Prophet of God, he is answering the calls of his passions. He is only satisfying the cravings of his heart." Naturally, he was confused as to why personal satisfaction was considered a good deed. Then came the Prophet's reply, had he adopted an awful method for the satisfaction of his urge, he would have been punished. Then why should he not be rewarded for following the right course? This new conception of religion, that it should also devote itself to the betterment of this life rather than just concern itself exclusively with blind worship for the hereafter, has led to a new orientation of moral values. Islam's abiding influence on the common relations of mankind in the affairs of everyday life, its deep power over the masses, its regulation of their conception of rights and duty, its suitability and adaptability to the ignorant savage and the wise philosopher, are characteristic features of the teachings of the Prophet of Islam. But it should be most carefully borne in mind this stress on good actions is not at the sacrifice of faith. While there are various religions with various schools of thought, some praising faith at the expense of deeds, others exhausting various acts to the detriment of correct belief, Islam is based on correct faith and righteous actions. Means are as important as the ends, and ends are as important as the means. In Islam, faith cannot be divorced from the action. Right knowledge should be transferred into right action to produce the right results. How often the words come in the Quran, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ. Those who believe and do good things, they alone shall enter paradise. Again and again, not less than 50 times, these words are repeated as if too much stress cannot be laid on them. Belief is encouraged, but mere belief is not the goal. Those who believe and do nothing are not existing in Islam. Those who believe and do wrong are sinners. Divine law is the law of effort and not of ideals. It chalks out for us the path of eternal progress, from knowledge to action and from action to contentment. But what is the correct faith from which right action results in personal contentment? Here, the central doctrine of Islam is the unity of God. There is no God but the one God is the pivot from which hangs the whole teaching and practice of Islam. He is unique not only as regards his divine being, but also as regards his divine attributes. Islam adopts here, as in other things too, the law of golden mean. It avoids the view of God which divests the divine being of every attribute and rejects the view which likens him to things material. The Quran says, on the one hand, there is nothing which is like him. On the other, it affirms that he is seeing, hearing, and knowing. He is the king who is without a stain of fault or deficiency. The mighty ship of his power floats upon the ocean of justice and equity. He is the beneficent, the merciful. He is the guardian over all. Islam does not stop with these positive statements, it adds further the negative concepts. There is also no one else who is guardian over anything. He is the meander of every breakage, and no one else is the meander of any breakage. He is the restorer of every loss, and no one else is the restorer of any loss. There is no God but the one God. He is above any need, the maker of bodies, creator of souls, the Lord of the Day of Judgment, and in short, in the words of the Quran, to him belong all excellent qualities. Regarding the position of man in relation to the universe, the Quran says that humans are bound to be rulers of the universe. وَسَخَّرَ لَكُم مَّا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا مِّنْهُ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And he has subjected to you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. All from him, indeed in that are signs for people who give thought. But in relation to God, the Quran says, التي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. God has created life and death to put you to test in order to see whose actions are good, and He is the mighty, the forgiving. So in spite of free will which we enjoy to some extent, we are born under certain circumstances and continue to live under certain circumstances beyond our control. This may very well seem unfair and unjust to the human mind. But with regard to this, God says, "It is my will to create anyone under conditions that seem best to me. I have cosmic plans finite mortals cannot fully comprehend. But I will certainly test you in prosperity as well as in adversity, in health as well as in sickness, in heights as well as in depths." My ways of testing differ from person to person, from hour to hour. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul with more than it can bear. Whatever burden has been placed on you was placed absolutely knowing that you are capable of handling it. In adversity, do not despair and resort to unlawful means. It is but a passing phase. In prosperity, do not forget God. God's gifts are given only as tests. You are always on trial, every moment on test. In this sphere of life, we are incapable of understanding the reason why. There is but to do and die. Do not consider this temporal life on earth as the end of human existence. There is a life after death, and it is eternal. Every action in life, however insignificant, is justly recorded and produces a lasting effect. This life is a preparation for the hereafter. Some of the ways of God are known to you, but many of His ways are hidden from you. What is hidden in you and from you in this world will be unrolled and laid open before you in the next. The virtuous will enjoy the blessings of God which the eye has not seen, nor has the ear heard, nor has it entered into the minds of men to be conceived. They will march onward, reaching higher and higher. And those who have wasted opportunity in this life shall under the inevitable law be subjugated to a course of treatment of the spiritual disease which they have brought about with their own hands. Fight in this life itself the tendencies of the spirit prone to evil, tempting to lead you to sin. Reach the next stage where the self-accusing spirit in your conscience is awakened, and your soul is anxious to attain moral excellence and revolt against disobedience. This will lead you to the final stage of your soul at rest, contented with God, finding its happiness and delight in Him alone. Your soul no more stumbles, the stage of struggle passes away, truth is victorious, and falsehood lays down its arms. All complexities will then be resolved. Your house will not be divided against itself. Your personality will get integrated around a central core of submission to the will of God and complete surrender to His divine purpose. The soul will have peace. God will then address you, "O thou soul that art at rest, and restest fully contented with thy Lord, return to thy Lord. He is pleased with thee, and thou art pleased with him. So enter among my servants, and enter into my paradise." This is the final goal for man, to become on the one hand the master of the universe, and on the other, to see that his soul finds rest in his Lord, and on the other to see that his soul finds rest in his Lord. That not only his Lord will be pleased with him, but that he is also pleased with his Lord. The love of God is his food at this stage, and he drinks deep from the fountain of life. Sorrow and defeat do not overwhelm him, and material success does not find him prideful or elated. The Western nations are only trying to become the master of the universe, but their souls have not found peace and rest. Thomas Carlyle, a Scottish philosopher of the 19th century, struck by this philosophy of life, writes, "Islam is that we must submit to God, that our whole strength lies in resigned submission to Him. Whatsoever He does to us, the things He sends to us, even if it be death, and worse than death, shall be good, shall be best. We resign ourselves to God." If this be Islam, says Goethe, the German poet, do we not all live in Islam? And Carlyle himself answers this question. Yes, all of us that have any moral life, we all live so. This is yet the highest wisdom that heaven has revealed to our earth.